Hey, I'm Mr. Bahork, and we are solving equations with variables on both sides of the equal sign. So remember that we will want to follow some general rules for solving equations. First, try to simplify anything that you can. If there's some distributing to be done, we should do that. If there's any terms to combine, maybe that'll help first. Then undo any addition, subtraction, then undo multiplication, division. Okay? Those general rules tend to help solve equations. However, remember, you can always go out of order as long as you're making sure that you're doing the right thing to both sides of the equation. So let's start off with an example. 4c plus 3 equals 15 minus 2c. So you'll notice that I have c's on both sides of the equal sign. I have a c over here on this side and a c over here on this side. Well, the way I like to think of this is kind of like the Dr. Seuss book, The Sneetches. Okay, if you don't remember the story of the Sneetches, basically there's these creatures that live on the beach called Sneetches. Clever. And one day this guy rolls into town, and this has this machine, and it says you'll be super cool if you have a star on your belly. So some of the Sneetches have stars on their bellies, some of them don't. And basically what happens is the Sneetches with stars on their belly think they're better than the Sneetches without stars. So I try to think of it as like, okay, it's like Sneetches with stars and Sneetches without stars. So my goal is that I want to get the Sneetches with stars, aka the terms with variables. I want to get them on one side of the beach, and I want to get the constants, the Sneetches without stars, okay, on the other side of the beach. So I want to separate them. Okay. I want to get the terms c on one side, and I want to get the regular numbers on the other side so that I can combine like terms and solve. So what does that mean? That means that we're going to have to do some moving around. So let me rewrite everything because I kind of messed things up by coloring it Christmas colors and all that. 15 minus 2c. Cool. Alright, so I'm going to start off with moving something around to both sides. There's a lot of different options. I could subtract 4c from both sides. I could subtract 3 on both sides. I could subtract 15 on both sides, or I could add 2c to both sides. None of those are wrong. I just have to pick one and go with it. So I'm going to start off by adding 2c to both sides. This Sneetch with a star, or a variable, needs to move over here to the other side with the other Sneetches. I'm adding 2c to both sides. And those will cancel out. 4c plus 2c, that's 6c. So I have 6c plus 3 equals 15. And now I need to get the Sneetches without stars, the constants, to the other side. Minus 3 on both sides. Those cancel out. I'm left with 6c equals 15 minus 3 is 12. Divide both sides by 6, and c is equal to 2. So there's my answer. 2. Fun stuff. Alright, let's do another example. So we're on example 2, and I'll go with orange this time. We've got 4, and then parentheses, 8 minus y equals 2y plus 16. So remember, I want to try to do some simplifying first. I want to go ahead and distribute this 4 to both of these terms. That'll probably be the easiest step. So 4 times 8, that's 32. And 4 times y, well, that's going to be minus 4y. From here, there's a lot of different options I could choose. Okay, you could subtract 32 on both sides, or I could add 4y to both sides. I could subtract 2y on both sides, or I could subtract 16 on both sides. None of those are wrong. I just want to pick one of those options and just go with it. So how about adding 4y to both sides? So those cancel out, leaving me with 32 equals 2y plus 4y, that's 6y plus 16. Alright, so now I want to move something to the other side. So the most obvious choice is that I would want to subtract 16 on both sides. But here I just want to show you something that I don't have to. Okay, as long as I do the right thing to both sides, I will eventually end up with the right answer. So the choice that you're going to want to make, and you can go ahead and write it on your paper, is subtracting 16 on both sides. But here I'm going to diverge a little bit, and I'm just going to show you that I can eventually get to the right answer, but I'm going to do a bunch of crazy steps. So I'm going to subtract 6y on both sides. Why not? Okay, it's correct. It'll cancel out and end up with 32 minus 6y equals 16. Okay, well then let's minus 16 on both sides. And why not? Okay, it'll cancel out and that'll be good. So 32 minus 16 minus 6y equals 0. Well then let's do 32 minus 16. That's 16 minus 6y equals 0. And let's subtract 16 on both sides. Minus 16. So I'm running out of space here, but that's going to be negative 6y equals negative 16. I hope you can see that. I'll write it over here. Divide both sides by negative 6. And y is equal to 8/3. That's what it simplifies to. So I did a lot of extra steps there that I didn't really need to do, but you'll notice I got the right answer, even though I did all these crazy things I didn't need to do. Okay, the point is, as long as I did the right thing to both sides, I ended up with the right answer. So going back, back to here, right here. I should have subtracted 16 on both sides here. And why is that? Because that means I would end up with 16 equals 6y. Divide by 6, and 8/3 would have been my answer. So I would have gotten the answer a lot faster if I had done that. So just to show you on that one. All right, let's clear some space off so we can actually do some more problems. And let's scoot this thing back up so we have some more room to do more problems. No, wrong way. There we go. All right. Let's do blue. Cool. All right, let's do yeah, I'll do this one. 7a minus 4 plus 2a equals 3a minus 2. Fun. I'm going to change that color a little bit. That's a little bit dark. So the first thing I see is there's some terms to combine before I start moving around stuff to both sides. So 7a and 2a, that makes 9a minus 4 equals 3a minus 2. And from here, I could subtract 9a from both sides. I could add 4 to both sides. I could subtract 3a on both sides. I could add 2 to both sides. None of those are wrong. You just got to pick one and go with it. You notice I've said that a lot, but it helps drive the point home. So let's, I don't know, let's subtract 3a on both sides. Those cancel out, leave me with 6a minus 4 equals negative 2. So let's add 4 to both sides. So 6a is equal to negative 2 plus 4. That is going to be a positive 2. So divide both sides by 6. 2 over 6 will simplify to 1/3. So my answer is 1/3. Sweet. All right, and I've got one more example. Let's say a giant talking panda leaves his bamboo fortress on an elegant bicycle riding at a rate of 8 miles per hour. Okay. His brother Phil, the preposterous hippopotamus, leaves on his tricycle an hour later, following the giant panda. Phil travels at 12 miles per hour. So here's Phil, 12 miles per hour. I should probably write these names down. And this is our panda friend. Panda. Okay. How long will it take for Phil to catch up with our panda friend? So we need to write an equation for this. So let's go back and discuss. And if you don't remember what I said for the problem, just kind of rewind it for a second and listen again. So we've got the panda is traveling 8 miles for every hour. We don't know how long he's been traveling for. The only thing we do know is that Phil left an hour later, 1 hour later. So we know the difference between them. We know that they're an hour apart at the beginning, but we don't know how long the panda's been going for. So he's traveling 8 miles per an unknown amount of hours. Now, Phil, I'll use this light blue. Phil is going 12 miles for, well, it's not an unknown amount of hours. It is an unknown amount of hours, excuse me. It's the amount of hours that the panda travels minus 1 because he left an hour later. And what do we want to know? Well, we want to know, when will Phil catch up with the panda? When will they cover the same distance, or when will they equal one another? And now we have an equation that we can solve. So let's go ahead and distribute our 12. So we got 8h equals 12h minus 12. Let's subtract 12 on both sides, 12h on both sides, excuse me. Cancels out, and that's negative 4h equals negative 12. Divide both sides by negative 4. Negative 12 over negative 4, hey, that's h equals 3. So they'll catch up in 3 hours. Phil, the hippopotamus, will catch up in 3 hours. Alright, and just to point out, right here you may have had some trouble noticing that that's supposed to be a minus 1. Well, if you made it plus 1, look what would happen. It would be plus 12 right there. You'd end up with positive 12 divided by negative 4, which would be negative 3. So he caught up in negative 3 hours? He went back in time and caught up? That doesn't make sense. So you can know it's minus 1. If you're really unsure, you can work it out, and if your answer doesn't make sense, well, chances are that didn't make sense. Alright, I'm Mr. Bajorka. This was solving equations with variables on both sides.